Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. I purchased 3 premium block add-ons, Kadence blocks, Qubely blocks, and Stackable blocks. In this review, I do a comparison. I know that reviews sometimes skirt the hard questions, but I'm going to do my best to give you answers. This comparison will help you identify the strengths and weakness of each of these Gutenberg add-ons. I'm going to compare which blocks are included and look at some of them side by side, show the advanced features, the pre-designed libraries, pricing, performance, and support. When setting up my test bed, I decided to use the Kadence theme because I know that it has good support for Gutenberg. All 3 of these Gutenberg add-ons have at least some support for the Kadence theme and take advantage of the Kadence color palette. There's a free version of all 3 of these Gutenberg add-ons in the WordPress plugin directory. Kadence has more than 70,000 active install and 64 5-star reviews. It comes with 12 free blocks, 32 pre-designed sections, 1 starter pack or set of designed pages, editor width controls, and copy-paste column styles. Qubely by Themium is also available on WordPress.org. It has more than 9,000 active installs, 38 5-star reviews. It includes 27 free blocks, 61 pre-designed sections, 3 starter packs, global color typography settings, and editor width controls. Stackable on WordPress.org has more than 30,000 active installs, 270 5-star reviews. It also comes with 27 free blocks and has 58 block layouts and 83 pre-designed sections. And looking at these statistics in the WordPress directory, we see that Kadence has the most active installs, then Stackable, and then Qubely. But one thing to note about Stackable is that you uninstall the free version when you install the Pro version, which is not the case for the other 2. This means there are really more stackable installs than shown. It's also interesting that Stackable has many more 5-star reviews, even though it has fewer installs than Kadence. Let's take a look at what comes in Pro. On the Kadence website, we see that Pro comes with 9 premium blocks, including form and gallery extras, 4 premium sections, on-scroll animations, and support. Qubely Pro comes with 11 additional premium blocks, 95 additional premium sections, 28 premium starter packs, and support. And finally, Stackable Pro doesn't add any more blocks. They're all available in the free version. However, it adds enhancements to some of the blocks. It adds the option to use your own Font Awesome Pro license. It adds 223 additional pre-designed blocks. It adds advanced column layout spacing options, 232 more block layouts. You can add CSS per block, advanced options for the blog post block, hover and image box effects, more than 50 image blob shapes, up to 3 separator divider styles, a role manager, and support. On the website text version of the video, there's a table showing the blocks that are included. The ones that come with Pro are highlighted in blue. You can see there are some that are common to all 3 of the block add-ons, and some which are unique. Some of the more advanced ones are form blocks, a Google Map block, a modal block, the post grid blocks, the container blocks, a table of contents block, and video pop-up blocks. I'm going to look at some of these in the comparison in just a moment. If we look at pricing, Kadence Blocks Pro is available standalone for $59 a year, or you can buy a membership that includes it, as well as all of the other themes and plugins, for $139 a year, or $449 for a lifetime membership. Qubely is available on their website for $39 a year for 1 site, $59 for 5, or $99 a year for unlimited licenses. There's also currently a special AppSumo lifetime option, which is a good value, and there's a link to that on my website. Stackable Pro is available for $35 a year for a single site or $99 a year for unlimited sites. Let's begin by comparing container, heading, and list blocks. Container blocks are key to having a page builder-like experience when using Gutenberg. All three offer a nice upgrade from the default column block that comes in Core. One thing I've noticed when trying to work with Gutenberg as a page builder is that you're largely at the mercy of the internal block layouts. What do I mean? Suppose you want a row of card-type blocks, each with an image at the top, a title, a description, a list, and a button with a nice background and border. Well, there are plenty of card types of blocks, but none of them support a list. So in this case, you need to turn to a container block and try to create your own super block. The container challenge for each of these add-ons will be to create cards like the mock-up shown. I have here a test site with the Kadence theme installed. I've added a bunch of pages, and there's a custom post type called Books available. I have Kadence Blocks Pro and Free, Qubely Blocks Pro and Free, and Stackable Pro and Free installed on the site, but none of these third-party ones are active right now. I'm going to start by looking at what we can do with Core. Remember, what I'm going to try to do is create our kind of super block or card with several elements in it, and we can create a basic version with Core. To do that, I'll start by adding an image, and then I'll add a heading and some text and a list and a button. And let's center what we can. We can see that we do have the option to center align some of the blocks, like the image block. But note there are no spacing, padding, margin options. We can text align the heading. Again, no spacing options. We can center the text. Again, no spacing options. There is no option to horizontally align the list block. There is the option to center align the container for the button. Now, Core Gutenberg has a feature that's kind of nice, and that is that there's the ability to group blocks together. And you group blocks by selecting one, holding down the Shift key, and then selecting the additional blocks, and then clicking here on the icon bar there and clicking Group. There is the option with a group to give it a background color, so I'll do that. But there aren't any other margin or padding options. Now I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to add a Core column block with 2 columns, and I'll place these 2 groups into the columns. So here's what we can create using WordPress Core. I'll publish this, and let's go take a look on the front end. It's not too bad. We don't have any options for creating a border or rounding the corners. There are no options for spacing or for centering the list, but this is not too bad, and this is what comes for free with WordPress Core. Now let's try to do the same thing using container and some of the advanced blocks that come with the add-ins. Let's start with Kadence blocks. We'll activate those, create a new page, and we'll start by adding a Kadence row layout block. This is actually pretty powerful. The Kadence row layout block gives you some preset layouts. You can see you can have up to 6 columns. This is also, by the way, how you access the pre-built library. You can adjust the gutter, the padding, and margins. For background options, you can have a solid color, a gradient, a background image, or even a video. There are some divider options that you can select for top and bottom. There are text color settings, structure settings. These are actually pretty powerful. You can control the max width and the z-index, and their visibility settings by device size and whether a user is logged in or not. To get started, we want just a single row, which is going to be our container. And one thing I want to point out here is that Kadence also has some settings not only on the block level, but also on the column level, which the core columns block doesn't have much of either. Again, you have background options, alignment options, margin and padding, visibility, but also some animate on scroll options. Okay, so to continue on, we're going to add an image. Kadence doesn't have an image block, so we're going to use core. We'll choose an image from the media library, and we will center align it. Next, let's add a heading. Kadence has an advanced heading block. See, it has some nice options here, and we will center align it. And we can try to adjust the top margin and bottom margin. Now let's add some text, and we'll center align that. And now a list, and Kadence has an icon list block. You can have more than one column, and adjust the vertical and horizontal spacing, align the icons. You can adjust the list text styling and icon styles together, or you can individually control the list items and give each list item its own URL, so that's pretty cool, and change the icon individually for each list item. So that's nice. We don't need to do that, but it's pretty cool that it has that. So I'm going to add these. You can move them up and down or remove them. I don't see a way to center align the block, but I can give a margin here to move it over some. So we'll try that. Now, lastly, I want to add the button. Kadence comes with an advanced button, and we'll align that center. And we'll style this a little bit. Kadence lets you have multiple buttons in your kind of button container. And let's see, let's give it a text color of blue, a background color of white, a border color of blue, a box shadow, border width of 4, and a border radius of 8. Let's see how that's looking now. So now let's select the column, and let's give that a background color, and then let's do a border color and a border width and a border radius. It looks good. A box shadow. Okay. Now let's duplicate that. Okay, so we have 2 of them. Let's now add another row layout block with 2 columns and place these inside. And update. And now let's take a look. And this is the Kadence version. So that looks very nice. Now let's try to do the same thing using Qubely. I'm going to go into the plugins, deactivate Kadence. I'll activate Qubely. With Qubely, you also get a settings menu item here. However, note there aren't any options here for turning off or disabling blocks one by one, which is, I think, a nice feature of some add-ons. But let's go ahead and add our Qubely page. Now, Qubely comes with 2 container blocks. There's a row block, but there's also a block wrapper. And we're going to start with the block wrapper, which is a nice little thing. It's a little bit easier than using a Kadence single column, but I think it's going to work about the same way. Notice that a lot of the blocks have this spacer option here to adjust the top and bottom, and it has these kind of stylish tabs here. There are options for background and border and radius, which we'll come back and use. And Qubely blocks, almost all of them have on the Advanced tab the option for animations. I guess these would be on-scroll animations, and also for interactions. Let's go ahead and add an image block. You notice that Qubely has an image block, so we don't have to use the core version, which doesn't have many options. The Qubely image block gives you two styles to start out with. You have more advanced options. You have alignment options. We can insert our image, but also there's an option for a retina image. You can adjust the opacity and the radius and box shadow of the image. So a few more features there than the core version. Here's our image, and let's take a look at these animations, and you can test it here. So that's what it'll look like. Then we have an interaction option. Let's try this enable mouse movement. So let's make that live. So you can see that we can have some effect if we move the mouse over. And then there's an interaction option. And what this is there's move, scale, rotate, skew, opacity, and blur. So these are triggered as you scroll. So try scale. And then just trying again, let's do a scale, another scale, and we'll put it back to 1. Let's update that. I think we might need to add some content here to scroll past. Let's try this out and see how it looks. Okay, so there's the effect. Obviously you can play around with that to make it work the way you want. Let's go back to our test here, creating our super block. Qubely has an advanced heading block, and here's interesting, when you insert it, it gives you some sections that use this block, so that's a nice option. Let's add our text, and an interesting thing is Qubely has an advanced text block, which is okay. And there are a ton of style options. You have options for separators. You have the option for title and subtitle. And then our animation and interaction options again. Let's add our list. Qubely has the option for an advanced list or an icon list. The advanced list, I think, has an icon, but you can't set it per item. Let's try this one here. That's kind of cool. And you can change the icon by clicking on it. But I think we'll be fine with just using an advanced list. Let's add our list items. If we look over at the settings, we can see they have a couple of styles here. We have some typography controls. We have some font style controls. We can change the bullet. And let's see, I think we want to make this centered. And look under design here. And let's make the padding a little less to bring these together. You can see there's some options for color and border and whatnot. And finally, let's add our button. Qubely has a button and a button group block. Let's just go with the button block. We get the suggestions of some sections with buttons. And we want to use an outline, and let's make the border width 2 and the radius 4. That's good. Oops. Radius 4. So let's make it 4. Okay. So here is our kind of start here. Actually, on the text block, Qubely has these options for title, which we don't need here. Okay. Now let's go to the whole container. Let's give it a background color that we want. And let us have a little bit less padding on the top. Let's say 10 and say 20. And let's go with a border color of blue and a border width of 8. And let's enable the box shadow, and let's have a radius. Let's actually go with border width of, let's try 6. Okay. Now let's duplicate that. And let's add our other container, the row. 2 columns. Notice this how nice that is, that shows you the padding here. I think that's kind of cool. And the Qubely row block has a few style options here. You can have equal column heights, which is a nice little feature. And you can adjust the column size. You have a background option, and there are shape divider options. Okay, but anyway, let's go back to this and drag this down here. And then this one, and drag this over. Okay, so let's update that. Let's save this. And let's see. I think I need to do some centering here. I think the text was maybe centered also. Let's update that and now go take a look at it. And this is our Qubely version, which I think is also attractive. And that was pretty easy to create. Last but not least, let's go take a look at the Stackable version of doing the same thing with Stackable. Okay, I'm going to go back to the plugins and we'll deactivate Qubely. And we'll activate Stackable. Remember, you don't do both, you just do one, and we're going to use the premium version. With Stackable, you get a settings page. This is where it has an option. If you own Font Awesome Pro, you can use it with Stackable by entering your subscription information there. You have a role manager for limiting access to images and content. And here you can enable and disable blocks if you don't need them all turned on, which I think is a great feature. Okay, let's go now and create our page. And Stackable also has 2 containers, 2 container blocks. It has a container and an advanced column and grid block. But the way you access the container is a bit different. It's not available in the block library. This is how you access it. First, you add a block, and Stackable doesn't have an image block, but it has an image box. It's not quite the same. So I'm just going to go with the image, and we'll choose our image here for Stackable. Okay, and now the way the Stackable container block works is you can add a block or blocks into the container. So that's how you do it. That's kind of nice. Now let's add our heading. We can center it here. A lot of Stackable blocks have the option for a title or subtitle, even if it's just the text block. We'll see that in a minute. But I don't need the subtitle here. Then there's the option for a top line, if you want to put a line above or a line below the heading. There's spacing options, and then these are often the same in a lot of Stackable blocks. You can change the HTML tag, adjust the opacity or the z-index. There are block spacing options. And I think some of these are pro features. There's responsive to hide, what they call responsive, but it's visibility to hide on different device sizes. And then they have this custom CSS area panel here where you can add CSS that applies just to this particular block. So that's the Stackable heading block. Next, let's add our text. And Stackable actually has an advanced text block here. So we'll add that. And interesting thing about this is that they give you some layout options here. This is another feature of Stackable, is that they have these little layout panels here, so you can kind of choose a preset layout. Just like with Qubely, you can bring in a section from the library. And the Stackable advanced text blocks lets you have multiple columns, which I think is kind of cool. I know maybe it doesn't impress you that much, but I really believe that one of the biggest drawbacks of the classic editor is that it didn't have native columns. But anyway, here's a nice little feature. Just like with some of their other blocks, you can add a title or subtitle here. You have your spacing options. and then block background options, and then you have an option for a top and bottom separator. Now, these are kind of cool separators. So like we can add a wave, we can give it a color, you can adjust the height and width and flip it, add shadow, bring it to the front and back or whatnot. And with Pro you get 2 more layers. So we'll turn that on and we'll turn this on. So that's kind of cool. The separators, they're available on a lot of the blocks for the top and bottom. So that's kind of a cool feature. I guess we don't really need multiple columns here, so we'll go back to 1 column. Let's get our text added in here and let's center it. Okay, and then next we'll add our list. Stackable also has an icon list. Kind of an interesting thing here if you need it. Okay, again, you have your option to use something from the library, but you can have a couple of columns. We don't really need that. We want to align it center. You can adjust the icon or text or spacing here, but you can also click on the individual icon here to change it if you want to have a different icon for each item. Okay, so we'll enter our, okay, and then, all right, and go to spacing, and here's list gap. We can bring those a little closer together if we want. And now let's add our button. We get some button layouts here if we want to have multiple buttons. And I think we want the ghost button. There we go. And we will have a border width of 4 and border radius of 4. Now let's go to the container and let's give it our background. And we see that it has the option for a radius and a shadow, but it does not have any border options. So we'll go to Advanced and Custom CSS, and I'll paste in some CSS here. See, we have that. We're going to need to adjust some spacing. I don't think we need as much padding at the top or on the side. Let's try padding 10 px. Does that do anything for us? Okay, let's make this a little thicker. All right, now that we have the container, let's duplicate that and now add our advanced column and grid block. And we can see this has layout options and some kind of tiled and uneven pre-configured layouts. And there are style options. Again, you have block title, block description, and your separators. What we want to do is drag this down into here, and then this one, drag that one down into there. And let's update that and go and view it. There are a couple more things I want to look at quickly here. I'm just going to go ahead and enable all these so we can zip through these last things. First, let's take a look at the design libraries. So we'll start with the Kadence row layout block. This is how you get to the design library here. You can see it has some pro and then a number of free options. It's only got one starter pack. Starter packs are multiple pages kind of themed, styled together. And here are the categories of the sections. Okay, so they're nice looking, but they're not really that many of them. Then this is how you access the Qubely pre-designed library. This is more attractive. There are 156 sections in total, and they have these category filters here, so you can see how many there are in by each category. Here are the starter packs. There are 33 of them. See, this one has 5 pages, this one has 7, and so on. So this is pretty extensive. And then there's the stackable design library here. We can see it has 306, this is Pro version, 306 sections, or blocks, they call them. And there are no starter packs, but you have your categories here, but you also have color options. You can do it by colors or light and dark, which is nice. So this is the stackable library. It's pretty extensive. Okay, so those are the pre-designed library options. And then there's one more thing that I want to look at. Let's go to the pages. So let's start with our Kadence post-grid carousel. And first thing we see here is you can select custom post types. So that's nice. You can use a query, or you can select the posts you want to include individually. You have your ordering and offset, the option to use pagination. You can filter by including and excluding a category. You have 3 layout options: grid, masonry, and carousel. Now, a nice thing here is there is a category filter, on-screen category filter. So that is a nice feature, also kind of an advanced feature of the Kadence version. Then you have border and padding and margin. You have colors for the filter and typography settings for the filter. You have container settings, image settings. You have some ability to have the title, to have the categories above or below the title. The same with meta. But you can't kind of totally shift everything around, but there are some options there for that. So we can see this is a pretty powerful post block option. Then let's take a look at the Qubely option. This is very attractive. You have a kind of list or a grid, masonry, and then a couple of options with kind of a hero or featured section. So you have some post design options. In your query options, you don't have the ability to choose a custom post type, so that's a limitation here. But in terms of all of the other features, you have a ton of options for styling and making these look attractive. So it is very attractive and has a lot of style options. Finally, let's take a look at the stackable posts block. Okay, and here we have several different layout options. I guess that's a nice one. You can choose some blog post pre-designed sections, adjust the number of columns, and under post settings, there is the option to show a custom post type. So that's nice. You can filter the query by category, set the offset and whatnot. And then you have the option to turn on and adjust some of the settings for the different elements of the post block, of the post display. So this is the stackable posts block. 2 other things I want to compare quickly before we get to the summary and conclusions. The first is that I created a test page for each of the blocks. This is a page, basically the same type of thing. This is the core blocks, use the same image, and I used the core image block and core text block, but the heading, list, and button block were from the Gutenberg add-on packs. So what I did is I created a core page, set it as the home page of the site, and then ran a GTmetrix test. As you can see, the core, I'm using the Kadence theme. The core got a 99% in page speed score, a 91% in the Y slow score. It had 85.1 kilobytes total page size and 14 requests. I did the exact same thing here with the Kadence page. I didn't try to style them. Really, I just added the blocks and the content. And the GTmetrix score for the Kadence page, when this was set as the home page. And by the way, when I ran these tests, I disabled the other blocks, so there was only one block set active at a time. It was also 99% for page speed, 90% for the Y slow score, and 90.8 kilobytes total page size and 17 requests. Same thing then with Qubely test page set as the home page. And this also had a 99% page speed score, a 90% Y slow score. It had 145 KB total page size, which is a lot bigger than some of the other ones, and 18 requests. And then did the same thing with Stackable. And it also had a 99% page speed score, a 90% Y slow score. It had 117 kilobyte total page size and 18 requests. For all the tests, the time to first byte was 481 milliseconds. So I'll do a little comparison, talk about these scores at the end in the summary. Last thing I want to discuss is the support channels. I've actually had support contact with all three vendors, and they're generally about a day, one business day for response, and I was satisfied with the responses from all of them. For Kadence, you use the support forums on their website. I personally like support forums because you can read and see how other users solve the problems. For Qubely, contact them through their chat widget on their website. And sometimes chats are hit or miss, but this seems to work fairly well for them. The people who respond seem to be doing triage, and they get the answers from probably another layer of support. But the answers have been on point. They've been good and helpful. And finally, for Stackable, what you do is you log in to your user dashboard for Stackable, and there's a button in the dashboard for support, and you go through a support wizard. I'm not a huge fan of Freemius, but they have been making some progress in giving you more options for opting in terms of what data is collected. And I was a little skeptical about the support interface, but it worked great. The Stackable support answers were always very friendly. They seem to go out of their way to be helpful. All three products have active groups on Facebook. It's not a support forum, but it is a good place to get general information and ask questions. And so I'd say support on all three is good. Now, let's talk about summary and conclusions, because I did want to actually give you some recommendations and not cop out on telling you what I think are the pros and cons and the best options. So, all three of these have lots of blocks and features, so it is hard to draw overall conclusions, but here's my shot at it. In terms of power, Kadence blocks are the leader. While the container blocks of Qubely and Stackable are very convenient, the Kadence row layout block is the most powerful and provides the greatest control when trying to achieve complex layouts. The posts-related block from Kadence also works with custom post types and has the option for on-page category filters. Stackable also had the option with their posts block for using it with custom post types, so that was good. Both Kadence Pro and Qubely Pro have form blocks. I didn't show it in the review, but in addition to emailing form entries, the Kadence version allows you to save form entries to the database and provides some connections to a couple of email marketing platforms like MailChimp. I would probably rank Qubely second in terms of powerful, as they did have a forms option. Their post block has a lot of flexibility. They have a table of contents block, which is a little bit advanced. They have a Google Maps block, which is also a more advanced option. When we talk about performance, Kadence was also clearly the leader, and it had a significantly smaller total page size and fewer requests. When we look at the results here in a table, the core blocks were at 85K, the Kadence were at about 91K, Qubely was at 145, which is a big jump, and then Stackable was at 117 kilobytes. And then in terms of requests, we had 14 from Core, 17 from Kadence, and 18 from Qubely and Stackable. So Kadence was also the most performant. In terms of ease of use, I thought that Qubely seemed a bit better. The tabs in the settings area were attractive and set off the panels well. I noticed when using the settings area of some of the more complex cadence blocks that sometimes it was easy to lose your place. There was such a long list of controls that sometimes I wasn't sure exactly which section I was in. I thought that Qubely handled that better. Qubely showed visually the row spacing on the screen, and the spacing control on the button bar was a little bit simpler than some of the margin and padding controls, but it was also very easy to use. And it could be just my impression, but it seemed that when you were trying to select the parent block in some of these containers, that the Qubely block, parent block, was easier to select. For some of the others, I had to go up to the block navigation area in order to find the block that I was trying to get to. Qubely and Stackable were consistent in the options that they offered on the Settings tab and the Advanced tabs, and that makes it easy for users to remember where things are. For creating the super block container, the Qubely block wrapper block and the Stackable container block were convenient. And I thought it was easier to use the container than the cadence row, but you could get the job done with all of them, but I just thought the containers were a little bit easier to use. I liked the stackable option to group any block into the container. I thought that was kind of slick. And I thought that the cadence row layout block, it has a nice copy paste styles feature, which I didn't show in the video, but I wish that more blocks had that feature. On the design front, Qubely came out ahead again. They had the most pre-designed sections and starter kits. The designs were attractive. They also had that animation and interaction feature, which was advanced and available on almost every block. I'd say second, maybe on design front, stackable separators with the 3 layers. That was easy to use and attractive. Stackable also had a large number of pre-designed sections. That's not to say that the cadence blocks were not attractive, but it seemed those attractive styles and cadence were sometimes built into the blocks more than being options that the user could control. And also, cadence at this point anyway did not have very many pre-designed sections or starter packs. Now, I understand they're having another plugin for starter sites that will have some of those things, but that's not what we're looking at in this video. As noted in the video, Stackable included options for title and subtitle or description on many of its blocks. I didn't see anything wrong with that because they're optional, but it also didn't seem really necessary. There was one small thing that I didn't like with Qubely, which was that it didn't have the ability to disable blocks individually in the admin area, which both Kadence and Stackable provided. I think that is a nice feature because it helps to keep the block list from getting overloaded. In terms of value for price, Kadence has a lifetime option, and Qubely has currently, I don't know how long it's going to last, an AppSumo pricing that is a very good value. So which one should you use? In the Pro versions, I think I'd give Kadence first place, Qubely second, and Stackable third. This partly depends on who the user is and what blocks you need. If you're a gearhead, then Kadence is the most powerful and performant. It might be a little bit harder to use than Qubely, but if you're a gearhead, you don't care. You want to have it your way and have that extra control. If design's the most important thing for you, then I think Qubely would be your best choice. The blocks were a bit more attractive, and there were a lot of pre-designed options. It also had the advanced animations and interactions, and I think that Qubely was a bit easier to use. If you want a free add-on for a content author, then Kadence, Qubely, and Stackable are all good Gutenberg enhancements, and any one of them would do. So that's my comparison. There's a text version of this video available on the WebTNG website, along with some other reviews and walkthroughs and resources. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching.